This program is brought to you by Emory University.
Good morning. It's an honor to welcome Your Holiness, the Dalai Lama, to Emory University. I am Claire Sturck, Provost and Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs. As the Chief Academic Officer of this university, I welcome His Holiness on behalf of all the faculty and all of those who compose Emory's Life of Mind. The Emory-Tibet Partnership, founded in 1998, set out to connect the best of Tibetan Buddhist and Western intellectual traditions in order to encourage the discovery of new knowledge for the benefit of humanity, as well as for our mutual enrichment. His Holiness has visited us on past occasions. 2 visits ago, our Presidential Distinguished Professor was appointed as such. That is 6 years ago. It was in October 2007. Those of you who live in the academic world know that that's very often a point at which a professor gets evaluated. I'm sure that His Holiness will get very good feedback and will continue to be one of our best professors. During that visit in 2007, among other activities, he also contributed to the Emory Summit on Religion, Conflict, and Peace Building. This is the kind of engagement we expect from our outstanding professors. In 2010, His Holiness participated in a series of events that covered topics such as science, meditation, creativity and spirituality, compassion meditation, and an interfaith dialogue. This was also the year that the first 6 scholars enrolled, the Tenjin Gaitso Science Scholars. Later this afternoon, several of Emory's faculty and students will engage in a conversation with His Holiness about beyond religion, ethics in a whole world, as a part of a session on transcending moral differences. We thank you for the opportunity of this interaction, the kind of scholarly engagement upon which Emory thrives. A special welcome also to you for taking the time to hear His Holiness speak on secular ethics, a call to focus on inner values, which, as His Holiness has shared, are the source of our individual peace of mind, confidence and happiness, as well as an ethically harmonious world. We all will gain from our participation in Secular Ethics 101 and our ongoing investments in working towards a better world. I now invite Raj Patel, President of the Student Government Association, to provide a welcome on behalf of the students.
Your Holiness, it is my honor and privilege to extend greetings and thanks to you on behalf of the Student Government Association and the 14,000 undergraduate, graduate, and professional students here at Emory University. My name is Raj Patel, and it is my privilege to be serving as the president of the SGA this year. Unlike many of my peers here today, I had the privilege of seeing you back in 2010, but not here at Emory. It was back home in Indianapolis where we spoke of a topic that your lecture today, as one of our presidential distinguished professors, will focus around: secular ethics. Your speech and question and answer session then were very refreshing, especially in seeing how many, if not all, religions share commonalities and tend to focus around the same common fundamentals, even if in their own ways unique. Moreover, I can confidently say that my attendance at your speech during my senior year back home in Indianapolis not only impacted some of my beliefs, but also influenced me in taking my first religion course during my freshman year of college, and eventually led me to pursue a religion as one of my majors. Nonetheless, your beliefs, leadership, and partnership with Emory, in my opinion and the opinions of many of my peers, reaffirms Emory's goals of creating a modern, diverse, and ethically engaged global environment, encompassing that environment into our campus life. Again, welcome back, and thank you again for the lecture that you will be providing us, Your Holiness, or as we should say, Professor. We all have been waiting quite some time to hear you teach our community once again.
Raj, thank you, and thanks to Provost Sturck also. Holiness, they have brought greetings to you from our faculty and also from our student body. It is my privilege to bring greetings also from the administration and the staff and alumni and trustees of our university, which pretty much then is our nuclear Emory family. Although the larger family also includes, of course, our neighbors that we serve and the patients in our medical facilities. I extend welcome to you from all. This, of course, is the second day of His Holiness' visit here in 2013. And this morning, the topic of Ethics 101, Secular Ethics 101, is one in which we are all very, very eager to engage. I thank you all for being here, present with us this morning to engage in this conversation, to receive the lesson and to engage in the conversation, I should say, as His Holiness shares with us his thinking about about ethics that can draw from but extends beyond religion. And afterwards, we will have an opportunity to ask him just a few questions. So I'm going to ask my colleagues to join me down front where we can best enjoy the lecture, and we will return. But most importantly, I want to welcome His Holiness, our Presidential Distinguished Professor at this moment, to the lectern. Your Holiness.
Brothers and sisters, of course, I feel great honor come to this famous university. And last several years, see this university, this is taken a special sort of say interest about. I think about Tibet, about the Tibetan culture, these things. So we actually usually carry some joint sort of work, right? Like that, really. And then, of course, you made me an honorary professor of this university. But I always describe hopeless professor. I think mainly I'm a lazy person, so I never done homework. So if you expect something marvelous of teaching or something, then nothing. Now, about the secular ethics. Daily, when you listen radio or look television, newspaper, I think some problems always in there. Firstly, killing. Nowadays, the terrorists,
suicide bombers.
Now almost, you see, daily news, these things. And then in the economy field, corruptions. And news, millions of poor people, poor children, suffer. All these, and then conflict with Nemo religion. Now recently, the conflict between Muslim community and Buddhist community in Burma, and also in Sri Lanka. And I heard you said that because of the repercussion in Indonesia.
So what to do?
Although, so all these I think really something because of that. When we sort of hearing these things, if we remain indifferent, I think that also immoral. Same human being suffer till you yourself not suffer and to remain like that. I think immoral. And then these events certainly, due to too much suspicion, too much anger, and these things happen. So certainly, clearly, this shows we humanity now really facing some kind of moral crisis. Right? That's very clear. I think this gap, rich and poor, I think not only morally wrong, but practically also source of problem. These simply some rules or some regulations, some help, but I think they root out.
No, new regulations simply cannot root out these big problems.
So then, all the human activities, human professions, say, ultimately related with motivation, sincere, honest motivation. Then every human activities become positive, useful. Every human activities, including preaching religion, motivated some negative things. Then even the teaching of religion also become destructive. So therefore, we have to think seriously, deeper way, how to change these sort of negative
States of mind.
states of
States
mind.
of mind.
Then, of course, if we rely on religion, as I mentioned yesterday also, religion, no matter how sort of wonderful religious tradition, it cannot be universally accepted. And then also, I think frankly speaking, among the religious believer, there are corrupted things there. And exploitation in the name of religion also there. As there is Tibetan saying, the medicine become poison. They're really helpless. Religion is supposed to bring moral or say the principle. But the religion itself sometimes become instrument of corruption or exploitation. So then, why these things happen? I think the society, basically lack of real sort of conviction, the moral principles are ultimate source of inner strength. So then how to bring the real conviction, these basic values are something, basis of our happy life, successful society, successful life. Difficult. So that, not in the church or temple or monastery, some sort of lecture,
Preaching.
or preaching, and some even sort of ceremony or prayer or meditation will not sort of, because of that, will not reach the entire humanity. So now, education universally accepted everywhere. Even those countries who very much sort of against religion, the education they also accepted it is something very important. So very purpose of education is built at the realistic sort of awareness. There always is the gap, appearances and reality. For example, the scientific sort of research also is to try to reduce the gap between appearances and reality. So education actually helping to reduce this gap. Those people without moral ethics, with power, with sort of cleverness, you can be successful life. You can be billionaire. Actually, unrealistic sort of thinking. Yes, by force, by kasota, manipulation. You may gain something, but ultimately, that person, deep inside, I think some uncomfortable. Therefore, these people, they never carry their life transparent, something hiding. So, result, these people, not very, very, very happy in deep inside. If you carry all this work truthfully, honestly, then you can have this sort of courage to make transparent. That brings trust. Trust brings friendship. So ultimately, you see, to gain some material benefit, use these sort of immoral method is actually unrealistic. So this also is a lack of awareness. If you carry wrong method, you will never get deep satisfaction in your heart. So now, unfortunately, the existing education system itself very much oriented about material values. And matter, no basis of good and bad, or the principle, like that. I think it is quite understandable. 1,000 years ago, the separate education institution started in the European continent. I think India may be
A little different.
spiritual and education, I think will go more or less, I think, together, I think. When the establishment of separate education institutions started, then at that time, moral principle, these matters is carried by the church, spiritual body. Now gradually, you see the influence church sometimes reduce, and family value also reduce. So then, education institution alone have the responsibility taking care of both brain development and warm-hearted sort of development. Both. So now question, if we teach through general education about moral principle. If you see relying on religion, then like India, multi-religious nation. And next question is, what religion? Difficult, more problem. So, I think India, over 3,000 years, already is in different religious tradition started. So therefore, because of that reality, I think the concept of secular develop. Respect all religions. And I think quite wisely, also respect non-believer. I think one sort of example, one of the school of thought, Charvaka, Tibetan word, Gyangpen, Charvaka, denying any value of spirituality, just material.
This life, no?
This life.
Just this life.
Like that. So, the rest of Indian spiritual sort of school of thought, school of traditions criticize that view. But refer person who hold that sort of view, refer Rishi. Rishi means sage. So there's clear sort of sign, respect. They are as well, respect them, like that. So now so therefore, eventually India become independence because of the reality, multi-culture, multi-linguistic, multi-religious sort of community. So India's constitution itself based on a secular concept. So sometimes in the West, or some my friends, some Muslims, some Christians, they told me I should not use the word secular, because they consider secular is something disrespect about religions. I think some people usually have that kind of sort of view. But according to Indian, no. So I think that's appropriate method to challenge today's problem. So that can go easily in secular education field. Through education, a generation from kindergarten up to university level, some moral teachings without touching religious or misuse of belief, simply, you see, the fact, right? Mainly, as I always mention, our common experience and common sense and scientific findings. So through that way, we can teach. And I'm sure there's some sort of, some groups already sort of carry
making efforts,
sort of experiment. So research is quite convincing, obvious. So now these, I think, use these sort of factors as sort of material, and then we can educate people from young age, gradually up to university level. So these, not just my own view, many my friends, many great scientists, and some educationists and social workers, social scientists, you see, many agree we are lacking the moral, ethics, some kind of crisis, moral crisis, is actually happen. So it is not time just to remain so long. You yourself not disturb and remain like that. That I think wrong. We have to think seriously about humanity. Like United States also is, I think, greatest democratic country. Really wonderful. I love America, really. America, I really consider the leading nation of free world. Very important. But within your own country, gap, rich and poor. And India as well. Now even the socialist country like China, also you see huge gap, rich and poor. We cannot remain indifferent. We have to think very seriously. So these, I think ultimately, the education institution have, I think, the important role through experiment, through more research work, and then so introduce certain sort of new way of approach about education, more complete form. So perhaps I may say my university, hopeless professor, however, warm-heartedness there. So whatever way, so therefore, I hope you see this I think institution can be, because of that, can take some important role. Like that. Good, thank you. Then some questions, isn't it? Some question answer.
Thank you. Holiness, thank you for that introduction and for leaving us a wonderful amount of time to talk with you. Let me, and you must correct me when well, you have never hesitated to correct me, but please feel free to correct me. But from your comments this morning and from your comments yesterday, where you describe secular ethics, and also from your book, Beyond Religion, the title of which you question, I realize that, you describe a universal ethics that respects and draws from religion, but and the moral principles of religion, but goes beyond all religions. Yes? And key...
Beyond is our core, yeah.
So what do we mean by going beyond? So
in addition to the common moral teachings of the world religions, the ethics, well, the particular examples you refer to are of moral principle are compassion, patience, contentment, self-discipline, generosity. And of course, that list goes on.
So, my view, of course, my understanding, the English word is very limited, and the vocabulary itself is very, very limited. All I want to share is these young, bright students study my English 1947. So I think many of you not yet born. But still, my English remains very, very poor. So this is one of the indication of disgrace of hopeless professor. So you know, beyond something, you see, they are the thoughts.
So the problem is if the word beyond is understood in terms of kind of a hierarchy, then it's problematic.
Oh.
No.
So actually, I believe the secular ethics is basis of all religions.
Yes. Okay.
So once you see you have sort of full conviction about these secular ethics, then further develop, use religious faith, religious sort of philosophy. then religion itself become truly genuine, positive, spiritual. Otherwise, due to lack of the basic secular ethics or due to lack of moral principle, then as I mentioned earlier, religion, I think I can easily manipulate with name of Dalai Lama and give some teaching and pretend, oh, I have some healing power. That I know about the future. So it's just some predictions eventually become wrong. So easily, you see, can be manipulated like that. If you have sort of firm sort of belief, firm conviction, the honest, truthful, compassionate, then no danger, manipulate religion like that.
You make, thank you for the clarification that you understand that compassion and other moral principles are foundational to the human experience, including through religion. Fair?
Yes.
And we heard from our own Professor Frans de Waal yesterday, who said that he sees the building blocks of morality in the experiments that he runs with non-human primates. We heard from Richie Davidson, who said that compassion and caring seem to be innate in infants and toddlers, perhaps part of the whole human experience. You yourself mentioned many mammals demonstrating caring and compassion. I know you have met Professor Sturck, our provost, but she also, in addition to representing the faculty, she also is an anthropologist by training. Claire, I'd like to ask you to comment. Do you see in your social research, and you do so much of this, some of this same innate seeds of goodness?
Yes, I actually think that most of the passion that people feel for their scholarship and for the research is because they want to enrich the world, but they also want to enrich themselves. And that means and that means that we need to continue to ask difficult questions, sometimes questions that people don't want to ask us. It also means that we need to be willing and able to say what I thought was true ends up not being the case, and revise our perspective and continue to grow.
I often is telling on my experience, past experience. One time in Argentina, once was meeting, religious leaders also there, and then one scientist also is there. I can't remember his name. A great physicist. And at that meeting, he mentioned he as a quantum physicist, then he should not develop attachment towards his own scientific field. I think that's great, so that view. And then I also felt, I am Buddhist, so I should not develop attachment towards Buddhism. Once you develop too much attachment, then your mind biased. With biased mind, you cannot see the goodness about others. You cannot see. You cannot see objectively.
Does her comment and your mention of detachment. Tell us something in our university that perhaps we should be adding to this list, something about intellectual humility.
그래서
상부윤데 나로야 야직 수네가 돈을 로냠중국이요 같이 주국이요나스 가달라포트 유니버시티 톨롭그 데세날 제베나 제베 갑데
한번 매회
한번 매버지랑
이도 고르고
나오
한배 장니 휴주인 거로.
This is important because often when you are lacking intellectual humility, then you tend to make hasty judgments.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
패지디 최기 맨서 순사도 최기저 지고 아니 그런 거는 지금 롭종 지하시다 지금 야르게 돈도 여배 있나? 지금 하이 디디 sab에 뽑아를 주면 야야 두 말에.
That is, of course, humility is an important spiritual value in all the traditions. But at the same time, if you think carefully, humility is not just a question of spiritual value; it's also an important value for intellectual inquiry. Because when you don't have the humility, then there is less openness and willingness to learn new.
Let me ask before I go to the next question. I'm wondering if we have His Holiness's microphone as high as it can go, so that everyone can hear, whoever is controlling that. And if it whistles every now and then, we'll forgive you. I think we want everybody to hear. Raj, as president of the student government, I don't know if you were able to join us yesterday, but in addition to His Holiness talking about these innate goodnesses, and the scientists, the researchers, both from here and Wisconsin, talking about evidences of that in non-human primates and in young people, we also saw presentations by our own Lobsang Negi and by Brooke Dodson-Lavelle that showed that those seeds can be nurtured through education. I'm very curious to know. I know we do a very good job of educating you to be sharp critics at the university. I hope not cynics. But I'd like to know what you think, you and your fellow students, how well you think they are prepared to embrace or question what His Holiness has suggested about a more complete education.
So I think the student body in general really does, I think at Emory University and just as a university as a whole, we really do like to incorporate other people's beliefs and like maybe be a little bit more closer to what secular ethics are. And I mean, I guess, you know, as a university, and one of the things that Emory does, it helps us criticize not only what we're taught, but also what we think of ourselves and what we think of the world. So maybe, I guess, another follow-up question that I would have, and then something that you mentioned in your lecture was, you know, the importance of teaching secular ethics in school and spirituality in general. So I guess, you know, how should we change our curriculum, maybe to incorporate your beliefs and or just secular ethics in general?
Secular ethics
Actually, I think since at last, perhaps, I think 2 years now, so we are working with with cooperation, some professors in India, some university in India, also some here, this country. So we are working, drafting some sort of curriculum.
proposal now.
Or proposal. Once we've completed that, I think then, you see, some school, Kasoda, carry as an experiment.
Pilot now. As a pilot.
Ah.
As a pilot.
Huh?
Pilot study.
And then look, result after a few years. If that really some sort of effective, some benefit, then more school can follow that. Not something so that volunteer.
So initially, the way in which this curriculum could be spread is not so much sort of a regulated imposition, but more through voluntary from the different schools as an experiment, and then as they see the effects, it can be adopted by more and more schools in a gradual way.
Let me ask you a question that I couldn't find the answer in your book, and I've been listening for. The ethics that we are talking about, these universal ethics that we're talking about, are very personal ethics. And I understand that your belief that as each individual in society holds these ethics, that society itself improves. One of the tools you have told us to use are detachment and dialogue and discernment.
Discernment.
One word I could not, well, I found it once in your book, and the word is sacrifice. Sacrifice.
Sacrifice.
You use the word once, and it is actually hyphenated when you use it. You talk about the self-sacrifice that a mother makes in caring for children. Often it is the case through discernment of the heart and the mind that we make decisions about priorities. Leaders are required to make these decisions. And the question is, can we ask people to make personal sacrifices for the greater good and still be exhibiting and exercising compassion?
Sacrifice.
Sacrifice.
So ideally, actually, the sacrifice that the individual is making has to come out of a compassionate motivation.
Now these things, you see, in order to achieve greater sort of benefit or goal, then some small things sacrifice. I think people who really drink always sort of alcohol, drink, then doctors say, oh, no, this is very, very sort of dangerous. Your liver already some sort of problem. Once you know that, then you sacrifice. You see the drinking.
Pleasure, love.
But this, in order to get greater benefit and smaller sacrifice. So we sort of, now this is sense of concern of your own sort of the long-term benefit. So similarly, the benefit to larger community or larger issue, and then sacrifice your own difficulties. Right? Difficulties, your own interest. All this is a dirisha.
So here, really, it's a question of understanding the pros and cons and the benefits in the long term.
Not by order. Sometimes religion also, religious faith also, sometimes appears order. I think any sort of human activities, in order to be really clean, really sort of honest or truthful, must come from voluntarily, not order.
Not imposition. No.
Not by,
지금
Not by
가서
imposition.
not by imposition.
소속에 전주스게 매체 아니 가르치던 제위는 다 먹을리 그러고.
So for example, if there is no will on the part of the individual, and if it is something that has been imposed from outside, there's going to be a disparity between the person's actual motive and will and what is he or she is asked to do.
Let me push a little further.
I think obviously those totalitarian sort of country, people under totalitarian
Systems.
and censorship. 다 태양 소리마다 쉽게 지금도.
So in those situations, then people do respond, but then they do it almost as a kind of a penalty. Like
지금 히포크리스가 저도.
and then it leads to hypocrisy. You feel one way and do something else.
Whereas democratic country, everybody equal and rule of law and freedom of expression. So they are sort of voluntarism, more sort of enthusiasm, voluntarily. So even business, many fields, and technology, innovation, all these things,
Innovation.
I think very, very sort of
Dynamic.
dynamic, yes.
But a practical example happening over and over in this country is of what I'm asking about are institutions and organizations and companies who don't have the same level of resources that they had years ago. And so there are layoffs, there are groups of people who are told they no longer have a job. And they are forced, it's an imposition, they are forced to sacrifice. It does not feel good for anyone, I can assure you, but are we not, is it not possible to show compassion? Do you understand my question a little better now?
Compassion on the part of the people who have been laid off.
No, the people who are laid off are wonderful. No. No. How does an organization rationalize trying to exercise an ethic of compassion when it finds itself forced to force other people to sacrifice?
또 총기 개방이 된다리야. 즉 가서 우리 내가 사수 명했지 인 파야 체제.
That lega chinya nyur tangko ya so ma cha ya dal tangko ya ine ya company kurang lang cho di ya jik ethics jik lang to yarab jo san che de bo yo ba chi kan shi ji las ani chen la shen ben da do sam ta ya kan shi ji ya chong go go to ne to so ma cha go de gal mi ka she lega me ba so ro was de ju to ya ne di zawe kan da lang cho de lang do lang cho di
Now here, I always mention intelligence, wisdom, and heartedness.
They need to go together.
As a capitalist country, only concerned about profit. Then I don't know. So that's why I usually say telling, as far as socio-economic theory is concerned, I am Marxist. I am not capitalist. The reason, as far as I know, Marxist economy theory, main concern is equal distribution. It's a moral ethics there. Whereas capitalists only think about profit. But again, no matter what the system, but individual, you take care about workers, about employees, and long-term interest, and making profit. That also use for
Benefit.
for development of the community, of the country, Good. You need money. But just as a profit to own one's own family and a luxurious life, then not very good. So again,
So again, here we're talking about the importance of what kind of underlying motivation there is, and also the goal that you uphold.
And I think among sort of different religious traditions, the sort of practice of self-discipline. Self-discipline means protect your best interest.
Thank you. Thank you. I know, based on where you took that question, I know that one of the questions from our students, before you arrived, we asked students from different disciplines to submit questions that they would like you to entertain, and one is very close to where you began to take this question by Scott Parent. Scott, are you here? And would you come to the microphone?
Your Holiness, in economics, my field of study, economists famously disagree on issues of production and then the subsequent redistribution of wealth. While recognizing that this is a very complex question, from your viewpoint, Your Holiness, what constitutes an ethical economic system?
And you have 10 minutes.
I think a wrong person to ask such questions. I really don't know. You see, if I really, you see, involve some decision about economy or company, I think within a week collapse. I really don't know. I really don't know.
Well, thank you, Your Holiness.
But here, you see, as I mentioned earlier, you see, no matter what the system, but the individual make differences. That, you see, I felt. Nowadays, I don't know. In Japan, many Japanese company very successful, still capitalism, very successful because the employer really take maximum care about employees. So the individual employee feel my company. So they are sort of working.
Loyalty.
Their royalty, their work carry with full of sort of
Almost with a sense of loyalty and affection to the company, with a sense of belonging.
So the good relation, close relation, employer-employee on a human level, that's very, very important. If that's not there, even the socialist sort of system, work will not successful. Clear? So ultimately, individual sort of thinking, individual views are top most important. That much I know. Then beyond that, I don't know.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Let's move on to what I think turns out to be a social justice question. Frike Jesus and, hold on here, Amahazian. Was that close? Thank you very, very much. Please, and thank you for your patience.
Your Holiness, it is an honor and privilege to be here in your presence. My question arises out of my focus on international relations, human rights, and globalization. Specifically, in an interconnected world where countries exhibit diverse religious, philosophical, and cultural foundations, how can leaders, groups, and societies formulate laws, policies, and ethical guidelines that not only suit their own perspectives, but also take account of and respect the foundations and perspectives of others.
가서도
그런데 계지
Yes, that's main point.
가사 칼이야 다 출루다 메리다 계기다 담담담 붙이기 지도 차도 요즘 나로리아 다 팀사우스보다 야직 컨택수사무소 갑이야 수수다조 잠와해 봐 참여다조 되어야 돈에 소야 탑시를 가려나서 디도를 섬당나는데.
As far as I know, the referendums actually they are one way.
There is, of course, a mechanism for referendum, which might be an important factor.
Of course, it depends on the size of the country. I think like Switzerland, I heard, you see, I think every sort of major decision, you see, always you see, consult with local people, local public. I think some kind of referendum. A big country like the United States, I don't know whether it can, practical or not, I don't know. And then basically, the system of democracy is, I think, the best system. I always feel, and also telling people, the world belongs to 7 billion human beings. And for example, the United States belongs to about 300 million of American people, not different sort of political party or leaders. Like Japan, I think Japan belongs to Japanese people, not royal family. Or some other country, you see, they not religious leader, but people. So the best way, best system to rule the country by the people is through election. So I think the democratic system, that's, I think, best way. And you, United States, Mr. Nixon, really very, very capable sort of president. But then impeachment, right? I think good. And then also the Taiwan president, because of Deng Xiaoping. I personally, a very good friend of mine. And then afterwards he became prisoner.
Imprisoned.
One way, of course, I feel very sad. One of my sort of friend, very sort of supportive, went to prison. Very sad. But one way, I feel proud. Even former president is under law, same. So these things, I think democratic system, I think very, very good. But then, since the people choose the leader, so then after sort of the leadership, one individual become leader, I think the accountability, sir.
The accountability.
That's something very, very important. So recent sort of the American spy kasako, communist Ursul Shinjichenko.
What's the name of the American spy who sought asylum in Russia?
Help me.
So in any way, you see,
come.
there are some
I know.
complicated things. Sometimes, you see, I think transparent, is very, very important. But at the same time, some best interest for the nation, sometimes, you see, this secrecy also, you see, relevant. So both sides go extreme, then sometimes because of the problems. So these, I think ultimately, people are the top most important. Good?
Yes. Thank you, Your Holiness.
While we're talking about systems of governance and of social, I don't want to say social order because that's not something we need to we need to worship. But the way we address society's ills, I think a very challenging question by Edmund Zhu. Edmund, are you here?
Good morning, Your Holiness. Thank you for coming. My question for you is, the United States, we imprison a large number of individuals every year, often for nonviolent offenses. When these individuals are released from prisons, many of them go on to commit additional crimes. Your Holiness, what would be your suggestions for our country to improve our penal system so that individuals in prison are rehabilitated instead of punished?
One time in India, it's Delhi, Kasa, Tihar jail. No, one sort of was the one police, 투기한다 가다 정간에 따도 정해 가다 내디 아자라도 멋신기 신 공금이 정간 알아야 즉 검자 서로 직다인데 로정도 하면 제도.
So this reminds His Holiness of the experience of the prisoners in Tihar jail, which is a major jail in Delhi, where the superintendent of that system, prison system, introduced some programs, including meditation to the inmates.
I was told that really not only provide some kind of sort of work and sort of some kind of sort of peace of mind, but then afterward, you see, the prisoners become something more normal human being,
Responsible.
and sort of mentally more stable. And then, you see, when they join the society, it's much easier. So I think that's I think. So I think the prisoners. Sometimes you see people reject. I think that's not good. I think we should create some kind of sort of atmosphere. The prisoner, when they sort of rejoin their society, I think society must accept as their own member. If you reject, then 수수인이 지도로 건데 reject 자비는 엔 코트다 틀리는 차도.
So if the former inmates from prison, when they get released, feel that they are rejected by the society, then of course they are going to act in a much more negative, confrontational way.
One time I heard, you see, some problems about because of the prison system. Then whether true or not, I don't know. You see, I also told someone, one American, you see, the construction of prison.
New prisons.
맞다. 그래, 정관 자야 돼. 디 로소당한테 정관 먹고 때문에 지난 전부 용에 맵체체.
So His Holiness was saying that he is not sure whether it's true or not, but he has heard from someone that there's actually a kind of a business of construction of new prisons, and once you have built these facilities, then you do need someone to go in there.
I really don't know.
I hope not.
Oh?
I hope not. It's bad economics.
So I think your question is, I think, very good. You see,
Yes.
It's out of sense of concern of these the poor prisoners. It's very good. You see, we have to think. You see, how to help how the best way to help these people. That's very important.
Thank you, Your Holiness.
Thank you.
I want to, Claire has indicated she has a question, but while we're picking on institutions, right, we've done the educational institution, we've done governments, we just did the prison system. Let me pick up a comment on a comment that you made in your introductory remarks and talk about religion. You said that you are quite certain that no one religion will be able to speak to the whole world. This represents a real complication for several of our world religions who imagine that the mission is to say that I care very much about you, therefore I want you to become like me, I want you to enjoy what I enjoy in my religion. You seem to be suggesting that there should be a shift, and I should be able to say, because of what I practice and what is genuine and deep in my religion, I care about you, but I don't require that you become like me. Am I understanding your position?
I think ancient time, you see the different place or different country, different area, you see, I mean, follow is the same religious faith. But India, I think something different. Otherwise, you see, this is a country, area, only one religion. So then, the concept, yes, one religion, one truth, and try to propagate within your own community. That's very good. Now, modern time, the boundaries came to
There's very little boundaries between these different religions, physical boundaries.
The information and also tourist, you see, and business, education, you see, very much interacted,
Very interconnected.
Interconnected. So then, so you have to accept several truths, several religions. In the terms of community, you have to accept that. The individual case, yes, one truth, one religion is very important in order to give your own sort of single-pointed faith. But in terms of the community, in terms of the humanity, still, you see, the entire sort of what's the entire 7 billion human beings should follow Christianity. Impossible. If Buddhist, you say pray to Buddha, entire 7 billion human beings should be Buddhist. Impossible, unrealistic. So sometimes you see I think certain sort of the wish or certain sort of view.
You know, sometimes what happens is that the people in these religious traditions, some of them still carry the old way of thinking, of, you know, imposing your own view.
Now, perhaps I think, of course, with really deep sort of respect to Christianity, I really admire many of my Christian sort of spiritual friends. They really dedicated serving poor people, poor community. In India also, so we notice some very remote village, some Christian brothers, sisters, really working. They really sacrifice their own sort of comfort like that. Wonderful. And I think, as a matter of fact, I think in reality, I think Christian brothers, sisters, really, I think, greatest contribution regarding education on the whole world. No question. However, there's one time in Australia, many years ago, one television team, you see, came to see me and asked me, do you believe existence of dinosaurs? I surprised. Of course I do. Then later I was told, some Christian sort of believer, world created by God only 5,000 years. So these things now, a little difficult. And also, you see, I think the Hindu tradition and also some Buddhist literature also mentioned world flat and the center Mount Meru. And sun and moon, slight sort of differences in the size, but same level, go like that. So as a result of meeting with scientists, and also before sort of meeting scientists personally, also I read his
about cosmology.
Cosmology,
Astronomy.
Astronomy. I found, read these books. So then I noticed, there are sort of description, explanation, based on their genuine finding. So that's true. So I'm Buddhist. So because of these sort of knowledge, one casualty of our concept is existence of Mount Meru. I'm hoping still I'm Buddhist, but I am no longer believe existence of Mount Meru. For me, for Buddhists, it's not much problem. So Buddha himself, you see, expressed, oh, my follower, or monks, or scholars should not accept my teaching out of faith, out of devotion, but rather thorough investigation and experiment. So we have some sort of liberty whether to accept these things or not.
Very good.
So religious people also should be realistic. Just as they believe the old sort of thinking, believe that, I think difficult.
Thank you. You handle those beautifully. They're great. Claire, you had a question for His
Yes,
Holiness.
you talked about higher education and shared a little bit about the history of higher education. And what we do in universities, we have lots of scholarly communities. We talk about the value of the humanities, the social sciences, the sciences. But much of what we do is train our students and ourselves as faculty to become experts. At the same time, listening to you, you emphasize the value of interdisciplinary work, of needing to work together, as opposed to wanting to be a star in your own field. And I wonder if you have any thoughts on how maybe we should do our teaching differently. We should have a different organization.
Expert yung ayake so miyu derwas rede ine tat chisu desen mo chele nyamru chi ko nyenta mo chang dos ta ko nyu ge ko mo shina na ji sang jo la ye chebe na ene desen su ko to na mala ba che nyamru chen la ye ke to ya ko she na ge na ko she ka de na ite
sang jo la ba da mo zhe xiao ni catch to be. Then Dobjan di Pingri, Dobjan di Nugris Ladi, 상주 계시게 말해. 디 상주 계시 말아. 코로 간다 쳐야래야. 저저. 저다 안 간주 즉 상주스럽디 지야 상주럽스럽디 즉 아주 니니리 즉 초월 니니리다 즉 가서 대상을이야 저스게 연애매네 직디 상불이 야고레신들 디 말다.
I think the teaching of secular ethics into the education system, I think we need to understand it in a more kind of complex way. There will be one level where, when we bring this kind of curriculum, we, in a sense, there will be a kind of a factual level where it is more about understanding and cultivation of awareness. Because otherwise what happens is that when we talk about teaching of ethics, people then immediately think in terms of a kind of a value-based approach, saying that this is good and we must bring it. So, and then the connection is not made with the personal experience and the kind of well-being of the individual. So it should not be brought in as if this is something good in itself and we need to bring it in.
As yesterday I mentioned the education about hygiene of emotion. I think the hygiene of physical, this 상주 계시게 말아. 그거 쳐야 될 시고.
For example, when we talk about physical health and teaching of physical health, it's not a question of good and bad. It's really a question of the personal well-being.
So the education about hygiene of emotion, also you see their own
Interest.
interest to benefit, not question of good or bad. Moral is good or
Because sometimes what happens is that the word morality tends to convey a sense that there is something intrinsically good that needs to be brought in regardless of the need.
So some people, those non-believer, if we talk about religion, heaven, or hell, or God, infinite love, then you see those people say, oh, don't care, I have no interest. But the hygiene of emotion, you can't see that. Like hygiene of physical. Not the
So, for example, when you bring in matters related to your physical well-being as well as mental and emotional well-being, so long as the individual cares for his or her own well-being, cannot say this is not relevant for me.
So education about well-being of mind or emotion, not because of the good and bad.
So it's not really, the way to bring it is not based on the question of bringing evaluation of what is good and what is bad, but tying it with the person's own well-being and interest.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Huh? Finish.
You finish. Are you finished? Well, I'm going to ask you not to be finished because I wanted to elaborate on that. You have written that our emotions, our state of minds. By the way, I should tell this audience. Every morning, in the several times that we have met over the years, if you should ask His Holiness if he rested well, his answer is yes, always. Now, I don't know how many of you over 50 would say that. But, I'm sorry. It's true. It's true. But
I think one kasada, not story, one kasada. One matter I want to share with you. For me, you see, the source of kasada, freshness is good sleep. So I always say sleep, I think about 8 hours, 9 hours, always. Time change. Now, for example, Delhi and here, about 9-hour differences. But my sleep is not much effect. They set up my watch, the local time, then local time, about 6, 7, I feel sleep. The next morning, local time, 3, wake up. So sleep is concerned, time change, time differences, not much effect. But because
Bowel movement.
bowel movement, one sort of obey. So it seems to see sleep and mind closer relation. Then actual physical things and the mind, I don't know. I don't know. Oh, what is the reason?
You asking me?
Yes.
I'm afraid I don't know either. But I do know I envy your ability to describe states of mind. You have written that in the West, we always talk about pleasurable versus painful in our minds, and or our experiences, a pleasurable experience, and we seek always to have pleasure. The language you choose to use is beneficial or harmful.
Mm-hmm.
It suggests to me that even in a painful experience, that if you understand that's beneficial, you have mental peace.
That's
되게 매대와도 여비네 고 펜베랑 신제나.
Did it?
세는데 이때 둘베스.
Did it?
That's true.
One word answer.
Now, firstly, you see mental level experience and the physical level experience, there is differences. As I mentioned yesterday also, briefly, there's a mental level, peace, and find some kind of purpose. That physical level, hardship, no problem. Even pain, no problem. For example, if there's some illness, physically, quite sort of painful. One my own sort of experience. One day, in India, the Bihar capital, Patna, now Bihar, very poor state. So one day, a long drive, and on the road, I saw a number of children, no shoe. Just pick up some sort of
Like twigs for firewood. And also cow dungs.
Oh. So it seems no education, no facility of education, and dress also very poor. And then near my hotel in Patna, one old person, they're judging his hair and
Physical.
he simply lay down, and a very poor condition, and the hair is in no sort of
Not cleaned, yeah.
So seems to be a very sick person, old person. It is old, sick, and nobody taking care. Then I myself, some pains here, stomach,
In the intestine.
intestine. Then I reach my own hotel. Of course, state government arranged. I lay down very comfortable way, but constantly thinking, these poor, helpless children, and then particularly the poor old person, nobody taking care. So remember these, then forget about my own physical pain. So the mental experience are very, very powerful to reduce your physical experiences. So I think those materialistic way of life, you always rely on sensory level experiences. That is mainly physical level experiences. Or I have one sort of story about, I think, about 1 year ago in India, one Indian family came to see me, and then two young, not very young, like you, Kazita,
In their 20s, right?
two sons. And we just sit, and the parent, and we just talk. And then, some way we sort of touched whether I look television or not.
Watch television or not.
Watching, no? And I mentioned, yes, in early period, yes, I used to watch television. Nowadays, no. Then the boy, son, you see, mentioned how you spend your time.
How can you pass your time?
You don't watch television?
So then immediately I got this sort of the awareness, oh, these young people always look television. Without looking television, then they feel boring. So this shows, you see, their sort of satisfaction or some kind of sort of pleasure totally relying on seeing something nice, hearing something nice, and taste like that. Mm-hmm. So these are, I think, the experience through
The senses.
Through
the senses.
Through senses, you see, they short period. So long, music there, feel happy. Something nice things to see, feel happy. Without these things, then you feel difficult to pass time. Now, mental level, such as faith, that's common, all religions, and also the thinking about compassion. And of course, you see each different tradition using different sort of things to think. So then some kind of deep satisfaction, because of the satisfaction, I think deep satisfaction through mental work, that gives you complete relax. So each morning, 3 o'clock, I get up. Then at least 5 hours, some meditation. Meditation mainly analytical meditation, thinking. Like that. So these, I think this some kind of deep sort of satisfaction from within mental level is much stronger. So that I think, so these things are now part of hygiene of emotion. Usually, you see, your home, some problem, or your work, some problem, then weekend, go outside. There's something like painkiller.
It's almost like it's a temporary relief.
When you and it's a few weeks sort of holiday, visit some other country, but problem is still there. When you return, they're full of problems there. So the real hygiene of emotion is remain within the problem, but try to much less disturb about your mind. That's the real proper way or effective way of hygiene of emotion.
So it's a distancing.
Really. So in order, so hygiene of mind,
So when we talk about emotional well-being and cultivating at the mental level, we also need to be able to make distinctions between the experiences that are at the sensory level on the one hand, and the kind of experiences you can have at the mental level on the other.
Then I think, so that some sort of response to your sort of previous question. Some of my Christian friend, they know I am Buddhist, I am not Christian. But since they know our practice, there are many common practices there. So, one time in Australia, my public talk, they introduced me, one Christian minister. So he described me as a good Christian.
Yes.
So then when I talk, I also describe him as a good Buddhist. So no problem.
That's very good.
So then we can really develop genuine spiritual brotherhood, sisterhood, sense of spiritual brotherhood, sisterhood. All these, if you look more realistic, more holistic way, then the different philosophical views doesn't matter. One individual, the concept of God creator is most powerful concept, very effective, very good for that person. We must respect, we must appreciate that, we must realize that.
No.
Then some people, the law of causality, cause and effect, no creator, more effective. And for that person, that concept is best for him or for her. So that is also the non-interference at legal.
So in some senses, there is a principle of non-interference is good.
Of more interference.
Non-interference.
Non-interference. Oh, I see.
Respecting the diversity.
Just out of respect, though.
Oh.
Yeah. Not
So
out of
I think all this, through education, and also it's the personal sort of contact.
Well, thank you. I have one other question from from our students speaking about how it is we spend our time. I would cap your comment, your last one, very interestingly. As you know, the foundation of Emory University was laid by the Christian Church, the Methodist Church, which espouses these twin values. The words they use are knowledge and vital piety. Vital piety and knowledge.
Vital piety. Piety is like the
So a respect for knowledge, including knowledge of others and other faiths, belief seems very consistent with what you and your friend, the minister, exchanged. But I would like Becca to come up for what probably will be our final question, Becca. Becca Burge from Emory College. How we spend our time.
Your Holiness, I'm a senior in the college and I'm going to graduate soon. So I remember once overhearing my stepsister ask her mother, "What is the meaning of life, Mom?" And she responded, "To be happy and to be useful." And later, the answer struck me as a paraphrase of one of your teachings. And so, Your Holiness, I would like to ask you, what, in your opinion, does it mean to be useful?
Our very existence, our life, becomes something, at least not harm other. If possible, give some benefit, help other. If not, at least restrain harming other. That's, I think, meaningful life, very purposeful life. Then, that also is because if you harm other, sooner or later you feel a little uncomfortable, isn't it? Hmm? Yeah. On the other hand, if you help something, yesterday also you mentioned that.
Presentation.
Oh, presentation. You see, helping other, the other gets some kind of sort of satisfaction and the response to you, smile, and some kind of appreciation. And you get immense sort of satisfaction or happy. Clear?
Yes.
So I think purpose of our life, actually, I usually describe, I believe, happy life. So my reason, you see, the future, no guarantee. Uncertainty, right?
Very open now.
Open. Future is open. But still, you see, we are hoping something good. So our life very much based on hope. Hope means something good. Therefore, the very purpose of our life is something,
To seek happiness.
happy life. If we quite certain now the future life or rest of your life will be very difficult, and then sometimes suicide also take place, and even you see they completely sort of hopeless, completely lost hope. That mental attitude itself shortened our life. So therefore, we can say very purpose of our life is happiness or joyfulness. That I can say. And then all the religions try to provide maximum satisfaction.
Nobody really pursues a religious life with the motivation seeking pain or unhappiness. People are aspiring for happiness.
And all religions, when they describe God, is full of compassion. And no religion say, our God, our Creator is full of anger. No. So, you see, in our mind, by nature, you see, compassion, love, you see, we love it. Anger, we don't like. Clear? I feel like that.
Thank you, Holy.
Thank you.
Thank you. As we wrap up here, those of you who may have been inspired by His Holiness' challenge for compassion, I have been told that we have set up in the Glen Narthex a table to sign up for Volunteer Emory as a way to work out that challenge. Holiness, this has been as you can sign up too if you care. As always, when we are together and when we enjoy you here at Emory, the conversations go in sometimes unpredictable directions, but always in rich directions. And we are grateful for your being with us during this visit and particularly during this session. Please help me thank His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. 딱 와요. Just order. Thank you. Where you born? India or here? You born?
Here.
Here.
Yeah.
Your parents come from which state of India?
Gujarat.
Gujarat, huh?
Yeah.
Jain,
Hindu.
Hindu, huh?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you much. Thank you. Ah.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
We're the right.
The preceding program is copyrighted by Emory University.